The Garden of Your Mind by Joseph Murphy. Each thought plants a seed in the rich soil of your subconscious, transforming your mind into a vast and fertile garden. Every belief, idea, and reflection takes root, influencing the blossoms that color your reality. Will the weeds of doubt and limitation overtake your garden, bringing abundance and beauty? The answer lies in your ability to cultivate your inner world with care, purpose, and awareness. The garden of your mind is not merely a collection of ideas. It is an invitation to transform how you perceive yourself and what you believe you are capable of achieving. Inspired by the transformative teachings of Joseph Murphy, a visionary who devoted his life to unveiling the limitless power of the human mind, this book offers more than inspiration. It offers empowerment. Through timeless truths, practical tools, and powerful stories, Murphy's legacy continues to echo, reminding us that our subconscious mind holds infinite potential. The thoughts we nourish shape not only our internal landscape, but also the very fabric of our external lives. We do not expect you to accept all the ideas presented here as gospel during this journey. Rather, these contemplations function as seeds of potential, intended to connect with your individual experiences and assist you in finding your own solutions. Murphy firmly believed that personal transformation begins internally, a belief rooted in the understanding that every individual possesses the ability to alter their own story. You will be inspired to think, to ask questions, and, most of all, to have faith in your ability to transform your life as you go through these pages more thoroughly. Murphy's lessons serve as a reminder that real change takes time. It takes time and intention to cultivate a healthy and flourishing mind, just as a gardener takes the same patience, commitment, and care with their plants. As you face outdated ideas and sow fresh seeds of optimism, fortitude, and self-worth, you will experience times of difficulty and development. While some concepts could get traction right once, others might require some time to develop. However, every thought you choose to cultivate lays the foundation for a life aligned with your greatest potential. This book is a compilation of ideas intended to encourage reflection and deliberate action rather than a strict guidebook. It is an invitation to transform your mind into a haven of serenity and opportunity, and a celebration of your enormous creative potential. Keep in mind that you are in charge of your own mental garden. You have the ability to decide which ideas to nurture, which beliefs to eradicate, and which seeds to sow. A single step starts the trip. Let today be the first time you explore the amazing potential that has always been within you, just waiting to blossom as you enter the garden of your mind. I still remember the first time I sat by the bank of a quiet river. The surface of the water shimmered gently, concealing a world beneath that I couldn't quite see, but instinctively knew was there. I found myself wondering, how much of what flows beneath the surface carries answers I am yet to uncover? And then it struck me. Our minds are much the same. Our minds are vast oceans of potential awaiting exploration. For years, I felt like a leaf caught in the currents of life's unpredictable tides. Circumstances seemed to dictate my every step, and I found myself trapped in a cycle of questions. Why can't I move forward? Why does success always seem out of reach? My frustration became a constant weight on my shoulders, until one day a new question formed in my mind. Simple yet powerful. What if the answer isn't outside of me? That moment marked the beginning of a shift. I began to sense that there was an untapped reservoir within me, a treasure of wisdom waiting to be uncovered. Have you ever felt as though life itself is trying to speak to you, yet its message remains elusive? That was how I felt for so long, until one ordinary day while walking aimlessly, a thought pierced through my mind like lightning. You are like a tree, rooted in something deep, whether you see it or not. I halted abruptly. The realization washed over me. Each of us carries a hidden mine of gold within, but somewhere along the way we forget how to unearth it. You may be wondering how to access that treasure. You don't need elaborate tools or someone's permission to begin. All it takes is stillness, a moment to close your eyes and listen. Just as a seed instinctively knows how to grow into a towering tree, you hold within you the intelligence to build a life of meaning and purpose. But consider this. What are you planting in your mind? Doubts, fears, and worries can become thorny weeds, strangling the seeds of your potential before they even have a chance to bloom. Over time, I've met many people who, without realizing it, lived as though they had lost their inner magnetism. Everything they longed for felt perpetually out of reach. They would say things like, "I can't do this. I'm not enough." Does that sound familiar? I've been there too, believing that my fate was carved in stone, immutable. But everything changed the day I stood before my reflection and whispered to myself, "There is a force within you that can transform everything." It was as if that still river I had once observed suddenly came alive within me, carrying me toward new horizons I hadn't dared to imagine. Have you ever noticed how often the things we seek are already within our grasp, yet we fail to see them? A friend once shared something profound with me during an ordinary conversation in his office. He leaned forward and said, "You have something extraordinary inside you, but you keep refusing to see it." I resisted at first. His words felt uncomfortable, yet they resonated deep down. His simple question changed everything. What could you accomplish if you believed you already had everything you needed? That day I chose to become a traveler in the uncharted lands of my own mind. Instead of focusing on what I lacked, I began to notice what I already had. I discovered something incredible. Gratitude doesn't just change what you see, it changes how you see. It's like turning on a light in a dark room. Suddenly the outlines of the unseen become visible, and what once felt like chaos transforms into clarity. Each of us holds a river of possibility within, a steady current, waiting to carry us toward the life we are meant to live. The key isn't found in striving for more, but in recognizing what has always been there. It begins with a simple yet radical choice: to listen, to believe, and to nurture the seeds of purpose we carry inside. What will you cultivate in the garden of your mind today? There are storms along the way within. There will be days when doubt threatens to submerge you like an unrelenting tide. In those times, keep in mind that your inner strength never goes away. It just waits for you to notice it once more. You'll notice a subtle change in your life when you start thinking about plenty, love, and faith. I want to know if you would use a key that could open any door if it were given to you. You already possess the key, but you have to have faith that it will work in order to open the doors you want. When I initially dared to trust in that key, I could still clearly recall it. I learned something new every time. There is a miracle every day, but you have to be open to seeing it. It wasn't a coincidence when my life started to change. My subconscious had always been there, patiently waiting for me to notice, and I had learnt to pay attention to its constant, silent voice. You can accomplish this as well. The key is to visualize your goals with a strong sense of conviction, to repeat good ideas, and to let yourself believe that what you want has already materialized. As I write this, I feel that I am not merely sharing my story, but yours as well. We all carry within us a divine spark, a treasure waiting to be unearthed. The question isn't whether it exists, but whether you are willing to search for it. Will you? After I unearthed my treasure, another question arose. How does this treasure work? It felt as though I'd discovered a chest full of riches, but had no idea how to open it. Have you ever had a dream, a goal, or an idea that felt so close yet somehow out of reach? It's as if one part of you is eager to move forward, while another part holds you back with equal force. The first thing I learned is that our mind is not a single, unified entity. It is a system composed of two powerful forces: the conscious mind, which acts as the compass pointing the way, and the subconscious mind, which acts as the helm steering the ship. But what happens when the compass spins aimlessly, unsure of its direction, or when the helm receives no clear instructions? I know that feeling of frustration, the sensation of rowing endlessly but never moving forward, trapped in the ebb and flow of my own doubts. One day, while helping a friend design a navigation chart for his ship, he was a sea captain, I had a revelation. He explained that the success of any journey doesn't solely depend on the winds or tides, but on how clearly the captain communicates his orders to the crew. In that moment, something clicked in my mind. Our thoughts function the same way. We are the captains of our subconscious, commanding a vast ocean of potential. But how does a captain lead his crew? With clarity and confidence. So what messages are you sending to your subconscious mind? I often hear people say, "I can't do this. It's too difficult. I'll never succeed." Do you realize that every word you utter becomes an instruction? The subconscious does not argue or reason, it simply obeys. If you tell it "I can't," it will work to make sure you don't. But what would happen if you changed those instructions? That's what I did. Instead of saying "I don't know how to do this," I began affirming "I find creative solutions in every moment." At first, my conscious mind resisted. But what if it isn't true? It would whisper. Yet, like a river carving its way through stone, my words began to seep into my subconscious. And then something remarkable happened. I started finding answers where before I had only seen obstacles. Your subconscious mind is fertile ground. Whatever you plant there will grow. If you sow seeds of fear, they will sprout into thorny vines that ensnare you. But if you sow thoughts of love, faith, and abundance, you will cultivate a garden of endless possibilities. This isn't just poetic, it's reality. I have lived it, and I've seen it unfold in the lives of those who dared to change their mental patterns. I recall a woman named Clara who came to me, heartbroken and defeated. "I'll never find someone who loves me," she confided through tears. I asked her, "What thoughts do you nourish each day?" She hesitated before answering. I told myself that I was not enough, that something must be wrong with me. I looked at her and said, "Clara, you're like a gardener watering her plants with poison. Change the water. Change your words." I taught her to repeat, "I am worthy of love. Love flows to me effortlessly and perfectly." At first she doubted, but slowly her subconscious began to respond. Today, Clara didn't just find love in someone else. She found it within herself. The dialogue you have with your mind shapes your reality. When you speak to your subconscious with intention and belief, you become the captain who knows how to guide their ship across any sea. So I ask you, what kind of garden will you grow? What message will you give your mind today? The answers have always been within you, waiting for you to give the command. Have you ever wondered why your life sometimes feels like a shattered mirror, reflecting fragments instead of a whole picture? The answer lies in the thoughts you've repeated without realizing it. Each thought is a code, a command that either unlocks doors to new opportunities or builds barriers that seem impossible to overcome. I've stood before that broken mirror myself, paralyzed by fear. But I learned something vital. The subconscious mind doesn't understand sarcasm or humor. It takes everything literally. Instead of saying "I don't want to fail," I began affirming that I am destined to succeed. The words were simple, but the shift was profound. One of the greatest hurdles many face is a lack of faith in the process. What if I try and it doesn't work? That question haunted me too, until I realized something. Even the smallest step forward moves the ship. You may not see the harbor right away, but if you continue adjusting your compass and trusting the helm, you'll get there. Your thoughts are commands, and your subconscious mind is the loyal crew that follows them without question. When you plant intentions with care and repeat them with conviction, the codes within your mind align and begin to shape your reality. What thoughts will you choose to change today? When I first understood how the mind worked, it felt as though I'd found a powerful set of tools. Yet I was unsure how to use them. It was like holding a key without knowing which door it unlocked. That's when I began to explore the mysteries of belief and prayer, two forces that, when combined, can reshape any reality. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to experience miracles while others don't? I used to ask myself the same thing. I remember sitting across from a woman who came to me, her voice trembling with desperation. "I've prayed for years, but nothing has changed," she sighed. I looked at her and asked, "What do you feel when you pray?" She hesitated before answering. I felt desperate, like no one was listening. There it was, the key. The words she spoke weren't enough because they were drenched in fear and doubt. True prayer isn't just about what you say, it's about what you feel when you say it. Belief is the soul of prayer. Years before, I found myself in a dark place. Every night, I would lie in bed, silently pleading for my life to change. But my prayers were saturated with fear, a tangled blend of doubt and longing. Why isn't this working? I would wonder. Then one night, something shifted. Instead of asking from a place of desperation, I surrendered to certainty. I closed my eyes, visualized the outcome I desired, and let myself feel as though it had already come true. It was a moment of profound transformation, as if a spark had been ignited within me. Soon after, the doors that once seemed locked began to open. But how do you cultivate that kind of certainty? How can you believe in something you cannot yet see? It's a question I've been asked countless times, and the answer remains the same. Belief doesn't come from what you see. It comes from what you choose to accept as true. Your subconscious mind doesn't need external proof. It only needs you to speak to it with conviction. Imagine planting a seed in the soil. Each seed carries an inherent promise that it will grow, and you trust that it will. You don't stand over the ground, demanding to see immediate results. You water it, nurture it, and trust that beneath the surface, something miraculous is unfolding. This is the essence of belief. It is the seed you plant in your subconscious mind through prayer and focused thought. In the same way, when you sow thoughts of fear, they grow into vines of doubt that entangle and trap you. But when you sow thoughts of love, faith, and abundance, you cultivate a garden of infinite possibilities. This isn't just a comforting idea, it's a lived truth. I've experienced it myself and witnessed it in others who have dared to change their mental codes. I think of Clara, a woman who came to me feeling utterly broken. "I'll never find someone who loves me," she whispered, tears falling freely. I asked her gently, "What are the thoughts you repeat to yourself every day?" After a moment of silence, she confessed, "I tell myself I'm not enough, that something must be wrong with me." I looked at her and said, "Clara, you're like a gardener watering your plants with poison. Change the water, change the words." I taught her to say, "I am worthy of love." Love flows to me easily and perfectly. At first she struggled to believe it, but slowly her subconscious began to respond. Today, Clara didn't just find love in someone else, she found it within herself. Your thoughts are the language you use to speak to your mind, and your mind listens. When you choose to believe in your own power and speak with clarity, you begin to steer your life toward the horizon you once thought unreachable. So I ask you, what reality will you create? The key is already in your hands. Trust it, use it, and watch the doors swing open. I once met a man named Luis, an entrepreneur who had lost everything. His face was etched with bitterness as he said, "I can't believe my life could ever get better." I looked at him and said, "Luis, your problem isn't a lack of resources, it's a lack of faith." I taught him how to visualize himself as a successful man once more, to repeat daily, "Prosperity flows to me in perfect ways." He began with skepticism, as many do. But he persisted. A month later he returned, tears in his eyes, saying, "Everything is changing. I don't know how, but everything is improving." His faith had unlocked the doors that had once seemed immovable. Prayer, when combined with belief, is an unstoppable creative force, but not the kind of prayer that pleads or begs from a place of desperation. True prayer affirms, feels, and gives thanks, as if the desire has already been fulfilled. This isn't a hollow ritual, it's a science. It's like starting an engine. If you know how to ignite it, the vehicle will begin to move. People often ask, "What if I have doubts?" Believe me, I've faced my own doubts. There were nights when, even as I prayed, my conscious mind whispered, "What if this doesn't work?" But I learned to treat my doubts like passing clouds. No matter how long they linger in the sky, the sun is always waiting behind them, ready to shine. When doubt creeps in, don't battle it. Instead, reaffirm your faith. Remember, you don't need to eliminate every shred of doubt for your prayers to be answered. You just need your belief to be stronger than your fears. Let me ask you something. How would your life change if you knew with absolute certainty that everything you desire is already yours? That mindset transforms prayers into reality. It doesn't matter how big or small your desire is. If you can feel it as real, your subconscious mind will begin working to bring it to life. As I write these words, I think of the person I was when I began this journey, someone filled with questions, fears, and restless longings. If I could speak to that version of myself, I would say, don't worry about how. Just focus on believing, because faith isn't about seeing to believe, it's about believing so you can see. And that is the true power of prayer. There was a time when my life felt stagnant. No matter how hard I tried, every path seemed blocked, as if I were trapped in a reality I hadn't chosen. Have you ever felt that way, that life was controlling you rather than the other way around? It was during that time that I discovered something that changed everything: the art of self-suggestion. Self-suggestion is the practice of speaking directly to your subconscious mind with intention and conviction. But it isn't just about reciting empty words. It's about feeling those words with every part of your being. Your subconscious doesn't respond to hollow statements. It responds to emotions, images, and the intensity with which you live each thought. The first time I used self-suggestion consciously, it was out of desperation, a personal experiment. I was facing a difficult financial situation, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't seem to escape it. Each night before I fell asleep, I repeated with conviction, "Abundance flows to me in perfect ways." At first, my conscious mind laughed at me. "That's not true," it whispered. But I didn't stop. I kept planting the seed night after night, even though the ground felt dry and barren. Then one day, unexpectedly, an opportunity arrived that changed everything. It wasn't a coincidence. It was the result of self-suggestion working within my subconscious mind. Have you ever stopped to think about how many times a day you speak to yourself? You may not notice it, but you're always sending messages to your mind. "I can't do this, I'll never be good enough. This always happens to me." Each of these thoughts is a seed you plant, and like any seed, it will grow. The question is, what are you cultivating within yourself? I remember a woman named Julia who came to me in utter despair. "Everything in my life is falling apart," she said. I asked her gently, "What do you tell yourself when things don't go as planned?" Her answer was immediate. "I tell myself I'm useless, that I'll never be good at anything." Her words cut deep. But I wasn't surprised. I told her, "Julia, your mind is like a fertile garden, but you've been watering your plants with poison. Change the water, change your words." I taught her to replace those self-defeating phrases with empowering ones. "I am capable. I deserve the best. My life is improving every day." At first, she hesitated, but with time, her internal language changed, and so did her life. Not because the world suddenly became easier, but because she began to change from within. Self-suggestion is a quiet but powerful art. It requires you to speak your mind, as you would to someone you love, with patience, belief, and gentleness. When you repeat a thought with enough conviction, it becomes a belief, and that belief reshapes your reality. So I ask you, what story are you telling yourself? What seeds are you planting in the garden of your mind? Your subconscious is always listening, ready to take your words and make them true. You hold the power to rewrite your narrative and to believe in possibilities beyond your current vision. Speak with conviction, trust in your words, and watch as your reality begins to bloom in ways you never imagined. Have you ever paused to realize that you hold the power to create your reality? Self-suggestion is like a paintbrush, and your subconscious mind is the canvas. Every thought you repeat, every image you visualize becomes a stroke on that canvas. The question isn't whether you're painting your reality. The question is, what are you painting? Some people have asked me, what if I don't believe the words I'm saying? Will it still work? I understand the doubt because I've been there too. But here's the secret. You don't have to believe it completely at first. You only need to be consistent. Repetition, like water carving through stone, is the key. Every time you repeat a positive affirmation, you create a new groove in your mind. And with time, those grooves become paths your subconscious follows naturally. As I pondered this concept one day, a clear picture of a flower-filled garden overrun with weeds came to me. I became aware that the garden was in my head. I had to get rid of the weeds, the pessimistic ideas, the restricting convictions. Then I can't and I'm not enough if I wanted the flowers to flourish. But how is that accomplished? By substituting ideas like hope, faith, and love for them. And self-suggestion is how you accomplish it. Self-suggestion is an act of faith. It is neither a trick nor a magic spell. It's making the daily decision to have faith in your capacity to change your life from the inside out. It makes no difference where you are at the moment or how hopeless your circumstances appear. What you put in your head right now is what counts. I want to ask you this. If you could pick one idea to sum up your life, what would it be? Because your world will be shaped by that notion. Don't wait for your situation to improve before making a mental shift, with the assurance that your subconscious is like rich soil, ready to produce. Make the change right now. As I write these words, I know they are meant for someone who needs them, perhaps you. Maybe you've been waiting for a sign, a shift, a change. Let me tell you this. You don't need to wait any longer. You already have the power within you to transform every aspect of your life. You just need to start speaking to your mind with love, confidence, and faith. What words will you plant today? The first time I realized that healing doesn't come from outside was during a moment of profound despair. My body felt drained, my mind restless, and it seemed as though no solution existed anywhere. I felt like a ship lost at sea, without a destination or a shore in sight. It was then that someone said something to me that would change my life forever. Everything you need to heal is already inside you. I wasn't really aware of how serious those words were at the time. However, I eventually learned their general truth. Have you ever been imprisoned by a disease or in excruciating bodily or mental pain? And so have I. My quest for knowledge led me to an astounding realization. The body and mind are more intricately linked than we frequently think. Our physical health can be a reflection of our thoughts and feelings. Whatever your mind says, your body hears it. I confided in a doctor buddy of mine about my difficulties one day. After glancing at me, he asked, "Did you know that long-term stress can cause illness?" According to him, the body reacts to stress, pain, and even disease because the mind is always sending signals about danger. I realized then that I needed to deal with the underlying causes of my feelings and ideas in order to recover. Imagine what you could achieve if you used your dreams as a tool. Whether you're seeking answers, inspiration, or peace, your subconscious is ready to help, but it needs clear instructions. Before you sleep, set an intention like planting a seed in your mind. Tonight, my subconscious works in my favor. I find clarity, creativity, and peace. Dreams also serve as a way to release emotional weight. Have you ever woken up feeling lighter after a dream? That's because your subconscious can process emotions and experiences that your conscious mind avoids. I've had dreams that helped me forgive, let go, and heal wounds I didn't realize I was carrying. The creative power of dreams isn't limited to abstract feelings. It has shaped some of humanity's greatest ideas. Inventors, artists, and scientists have found solutions and breakthroughs while they slept. Why not you? All it takes is a willingness to trust the process and believe that your subconscious is a wellspring of wisdom. Some people have told me, "I don't remember my dreams. Does that mean I can't use this power?" Not at all. Even if you don't recall your dreams, your subconscious mind is still working. The key is consistency. What you plant in your mind before sleep will, over time, grow and manifest in your waking life in surprising ways. I want you to imagine this. Every night, as you lay down to rest, you have the opportunity to plant a seed in your mind. That seed could be an intention, a question, or a heartfelt desire. While you sleep, that seed is nurtured by the boundless creativity of your subconscious, and when you wake, the fruits begin to appear in your life. Tonight, as you close your eyes, remember that sleep isn't just resting. It's a portal to a world of infinite possibilities. So, ask yourself, what do I want to create? What do I want to resolve? What do I want to release? Because in that quiet moment before sleep, you stand at the threshold of your own creative power. And once you step through, you may discover that your dreams hold the answers you've been seeking all along. Even when you're asleep, the cosmos is on your side. Tonight, what seeds are you going to plant? I saw an old man sitting by himself on a seat one day as I strolled through a park with tall trees that reached the sky. His eyes shone with a brilliance I had seldom seen, but his face was marked by deep lines of time. He exuded a serene vitality that appeared unaffected by his advanced years. I sat down next to him out of curiosity, and we started talking. I asked him how he was able to stay so energetic. He smiled and said, "Youth isn't in the body. It's in the soul. It depends on what you choose to nurture each day." Those words resonated with me. For years I had thought that aging was an inevitable decline, that vitality burned away like a candle melting down to nothing. But this man's wisdom made me question everything I believed. What if youth isn't dictated by time, but by how we choose to live? From that moment on, I began to observe the people around me. Some, despite their young age, walked as though the weight of decades pressed down on their shoulders. Others, like that elderly man, overflowed with enthusiasm and zest for life, defying the years on the calendar. I realized that the key wasn't found in biology, but in spirit. Youth is not a measure of years, it's a state of the soul. Let me ask you something. How often do you nourish your soul? Maybe you're diligent about caring for your body, keeping up with your responsibilities and pursuing your goals. But what do you do to keep that inner fire alive? The fire that makes you feel alive and whole. For a long time, I neglected this part of myself. I thought that happiness and energy came from external events, from things going right in my life. But eventually, I discovered that the true source of vitality lies within us. I remember Clara, a woman who came to me searching for answers. "I feel drained," she confessed. "It's like life has taken all my energy." I asked her, "What do you tell yourself every day?" Her answer was revealing. That I'm running out of time, that I'm getting older, that nothing is like it used to be. I explained to Clara that those words were direct instructions to her subconscious mind. If you tell your mind you're exhausted and aging, it will obey. But if you start speaking a different truth, your spirit will begin to renew itself. I asked her to affirm each morning, "My body is full of energy, my mind is clear, and my spirit is in constant renewal." A few weeks later, Clara returned with a smile so radiant it lit up the room. "I feel like I've reclaimed something I thought I had lost," she told me. "Did you know that your thoughts and emotions can rejuvenate every cell in your body? The subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between reality and imagination. If you feed it images of vitality, joy, and renewal, it will align your body and energy with those images." One evening, as I reflected on this, I imagined my spirit as a garden. If you tend to it with thoughts of love, gratitude, and purpose, it will flourish, no matter the season. But if you neglect it, it will become overrun with weeds, fears, worries, and limiting beliefs. Since then, I've made a commitment to nourish my soul every day, not only through affirmations, but also through moments of deep connection, watching the sunrise, listening to music that lifts my heart, or simply being fully present. The truth is, the vitality you seek isn't something you find outside. It's something you cultivate within. Each thought, each act of mindfulness is a seed that shapes your inner world. And when your soul is nurtured, the energy it radiates knows no age, no boundaries. So tonight, before you drift into sleep, ask yourself, what seeds will I plant? Choose thoughts that uplift you, dreams that inspire you, and intentions that renew your spirit. The soul has an incredible ability to bloom, no matter how long it has felt dormant. When you care for it with love, it will remind you that the flame of life was never meant to dim. It was meant to burn brighter with every moment you choose to live fully. Let me tell you something. Choosing to be young forever is a choice, not a fantasy. It's about how you choose to live each moment, not about refusing to acknowledge the passing of time. While some view every year as a hardship, others welcome it as a blessing. How you understand your path is up to you. What about the body? The body does react to physical care, but it also longs for spiritual sustenance. Your body pays attention when you think about wellness and express gratitude for each breath and heartbeat. Your body reacts to the love and appreciation you give it, just as a plant turns toward the sun. Imagine this. Every morning when you wake up, you have the chance to renew your spirit. Think of that moment as a reset, a chance to affirm, "Today I choose vitality. I choose joy. I choose to live fully." Watch how that simple act can transform your entire day. As I write this, I think of the many people who need to hear these words. Maybe you're one of them. Maybe you feel like you've lost that spark that once made you feel alive. Let me remind you, it doesn't matter how much time has passed, you can reignite that light within you. Because eternal youth isn't found in the body you see, it lives in the spirit you choose to nurture. So tonight, before you close your eyes, ask yourself, what did I do today to nourish my spirit? And tomorrow, when you wake, make a promise to yourself to take one small step toward the vitality that has always been within you. Youth isn't something you lose, it's something you rediscover. I remember the first time in my life when fear stopped me in my tracks. I was just a child standing in front of a closed door, too scared to turn the handle. Behind that door, I'd been told, was something wonderful. But my mind, filled with doubt, whispered, "What if something goes wrong?" That promise of something beautiful became a shadow of uncertainty. For years, that image stayed with me, not as a memory of a scared child, but as a reflection of the inner battle we all face when we let fear control our lives. Fear is like a shadow. It looms large, overwhelming, but when you step closer, you realize it has no substance. Have you ever felt trapped by a fear you couldn't explain? I have. And in my search to overcome those fears, I discovered something liberating. Fear doesn't live in the outside world. It lives in our minds. And because it lives there, we have the power to transform it. I would like to know how many times you have put off making a decision because you were afraid that you weren't ready, that you weren't enough, or that you wouldn't succeed. I've been there a lot of times. I discovered, however, that fear only has the power we grant it. After realizing that, I resolved to face those inner critics and swap them out for words of encouragement. I asked myself, what is confidence really? One evening, as I thought back on this struggle. The response was not immediately apparent. However, as time went on, I realized that confidence isn't the absence of fear, but rather the decision to go ahead in spite of it. Every step you take will get you closer to the light, even if you can't see the entire way. It's like walking in the dark with that assurance. The man who came to me after losing his job, Roberto, comes to mind. The fear of the future overtook him. He said, "I'm not sure what to do. I believe I have failed." "What do you tell yourself about yourself?" I questioned him. After a moment of hesitation, he responded, "That I'm not good enough and that maybe I never was." I looked at him and said, "Roberto, those words are the chains binding you to your fear. If you change your beliefs, you'll change your life." I asked him to begin each morning with a simple affirmation. "I trust that everything works in my favor. I am prepared for the opportunities coming my way." At first, he didn't believe it, but he repeated those words consistently. Weeks later, Roberto returned, not just with a new job, but with a new sense of self. "It wasn't the job I needed," he said. "It was my confidence." Being confident is a decision. You have to develop it within yourself. No one can give it to you. Like a garden, the subconscious mind grows from the seeds you sow. You will reap uncertainty if you plant ideas of fear. However, your life will grow in ways you can't yet understand if you sow seeds of hope and trust. Therefore, keep in mind that your mind is constantly listening when you go to sleep tonight. Before you close your eyes, what seeds will you sow? Are they going to be seeds of belief or seeds of fear? Because the garden of your life is shaped by every idea you make, and you'll discover that the strength you've been looking for has always been within of you, just waiting to blossom if you give it enough attention and trust. People often ask me, what should I do when fear feels overwhelming? My answer is always the same. Start with small acts of courage. You don't need to conquer the world in a single day. Sometimes, the bravest thing you can do is take one step toward what scares you. Action, no matter how small, is the most potent antidote to fear. There was a time when fear felt insurmountable to me. During a quiet meditation, an image appeared in my mind that changed everything. I saw myself standing before an enormous wall, the wall of fear. It was cold, oppressive, and seemed impossible to overcome. But as I looked closer, I noticed something, small cracks running across its surface. Through those cracks, light was streaming in. I realized that light was my trust in myself, growing stronger and slowly breaking down the wall from the inside. Since that day, every time fear tries to hold me back, I remind myself that even the tallest wall cannot withstand the force of faith and determination. I remind myself that I don't need to demolish the entire wall at once, only to find one crack of courage and step through it. So let me ask you this. What would you do today if you knew with absolute certainty that failure wasn't an option? Because here's the truth. Fear of failure is an illusion. Even when things don't go as expected, there is always something to learn, always a way to grow. The only true failure is not trying at all. As I write these words, I reflect on the many times I let fear guide my steps and how my life began to change when I decided to take control. It doesn't matter how immense the fear you're facing feels, there is something within you that is greater, a light that can dissolve any shadow. Tonight, before you close your eyes, I invite you to reflect. What fear am I ready to release? And tomorrow, when you wake, take one step, however small, toward the life that's waiting for you, beyond the fear. Remember, confidence isn't something you find. It's something you build thought by thought, action by action. Because beyond fear lies the freedom to be who you were always meant to be. Years ago, while wandering through an old cemetery, I paused before a simple headstone. The inscription read, "Here lies a dreamer who left their mark on the lives of others." I stood there, contemplating those words, wondering what kind of legacy that person had left behind. It wasn't their possessions that were remembered. It was something deeper, the invisible marks they had left on the hearts and minds of those who had known them. In that quiet moment, I understood something essential. The greatest legacy we can leave isn't found in what we accumulate, but in how we influence others. Since that day, I began reflecting on the impact of our thoughts and actions on the world around us. Every thought we hold and every belief we nurture shapes not only our lives but also the lives of those we encounter. We are like rivers, and our energy flows outward, touching and transforming everything in its path. But have you ever stopped to consider what kind of water you're sending out into the world? A man named Andrew once came to me, weighed down by a profound sense of insignificance. "What can I leave behind in this world?" he asked. I listened quietly, and then told him, "Your legacy isn't in grand monuments. It's in small acts. It's in the thoughts you share, the words that inspire, the ideas you plant." I asked him to pay attention to his inner dialogue and to notice how it influenced his interactions with others. Bit by bit, Andrew began to see the changes. As he softened his self-talk, he found that his presence became lighter, his words more uplifting. He returned one day, a smile lighting up his face. "I don't know if I'm leaving a legacy," he said, "but I finally feel like I'm living a life that matters. That's what a legacy truly is. It's not what we leave behind at the end, but what we build each day. Our words and attitudes have the power to inspire or wound, to build or break. And this isn't something I learned from books. It's something I discovered firsthand, often through mistakes and regrets. So, as you read this, take a moment to reflect. What kind of energy am I sharing with those around me? You may not realize it, but your presence leaves an imprint. You don't need a grand platform to make a difference. Sometimes a kind word, a gesture of understanding, or the decision to believe in someone's potential can become the legacy that shapes another's life. In the end, it's not the walls we build around ourselves that define our legacy. It's the light we let through the cracks. So step closer to that wall of fear. Notice the places where the light seeps in, and when you're ready, take a step through. Because the world needs what only you can give, and with every small act of courage, you're building something far greater than you can imagine. You're building a life that leaves ripples long after you're gone. I used to have relationships that were ruined by my own pessimistic views. "This will never change," or "I'm not enough," were some of the things I would tell myself. My ideas unknowingly permeated my speech, my actions, and ultimately, the hearts of the people I cared about the most. However, everything changed when I made the decision to change my thinking. I noticed a complete transformation in my world when I decided to sow thoughts of love and hope rather than uncertainty and dread. The mind's legacy is a seed we sow, not just in our own subconscious, but also in the minds of everyone around us. It is not an abstract idea. By choosing to be grateful, have faith, and trust, you are sowing seeds that will bear fruit for years to come. Even while those seeds might never bear fruit, they will develop in ways you can't yet fathom and impact lives far beyond your own. I had a clear vision once as I was meditating quietly. A huge tree with branches reaching toward the sky and roots extending far into the ground caught my attention. Fruit weighed down the trees, and within each fruit were seeds that were waiting to fall and sprout new life. The tree represented the mind, I concluded. Every idea was a seed, and every seed was a legacy. That tree's fruits stood for the influence of the concepts we decided to cultivate. But what about the negative seeds? The ones planted in moments of fear or anger? We've all planted those seeds. We've all let thoughts of doubt, resentment, and fear take root. But here's the good news. Just as you can pull weeds from a garden, you can uproot beliefs that no longer serve you. The process begins with a simple yet powerful choice. Today, I choose thoughts that build, not destroy. The greatest gift you can give yourself and others is a mind at peace, a mind filled with love and purpose. Have you ever noticed how when someone radiates calm and hope, you feel something shift within you? That is the power of the mental legacy we create. It's not just about transforming your own life, it's about becoming a source of light for others. I want you to reflect for a moment. What legacy are you building? Maybe you believe you don't have the power to influence others, but that's not true. Every kind word, every gesture of compassion, every belief you share with love leaves a mark. And though those marks may seem small, they have the power to ripple out and change the world. It's never too late to begin creating a legacy of transformation. No matter your age, no matter how much time you think you have left, today is the perfect time to start. Tonight, before you sleep, ask yourself, what thoughts do I want to plant tomorrow, in my mind and in the minds of those around me? And when you wake, remember that each action, no matter how small, contributes to the immense tree of your legacy. I once visited a cemetery and stopped in front of a simple headstone. The inscription read, "Here lies a dreamer who left their mark on the lives of others." I stood there, contemplating those words. What kind of life had they led? What had they left behind that was remembered so fondly? It wasn't their material possessions, it was something deeper. The invisible imprints they left on the hearts and minds of those who knew them. In that quiet moment, I understood something profound. The greatest legacy we can leave isn't in the things we accumulate, but in the lives we touch. Since that day, I've reflected often on how our thoughts and beliefs shape the world around us. Every thought you hold and every belief you foster not only molds your own life, but also shapes the experiences of those you encounter. We are like rivers, our energy flowing outward and transforming everything in its path. But have you ever considered what kind of waters you're sending out into the world? Are they waters of doubt and fear, or streams of hope and inspiration? A man named Andrew once came to me, burdened by the belief that his life had no meaning. "What can I leave behind in this world?" he asked, his voice filled with frustration. I listened to him in silence, then said, "Your legacy doesn't have to be grand or monumental. It's in the small, meaningful acts. It's in the thoughts you share, the kindness you offer, the hope you pass on." I encouraged Andrew to observe his thoughts and how they influenced his daily interactions. Slowly, he began to notice a shift. As he replaced harsh self-criticism with gentle affirmations, his demeanor changed. He became more open and more encouraging to others. One day he returned to me with a beaming smile. "I don't know if I'm leaving a legacy," he said, "but I finally feel like I'm living in a way that matters." That is what a legacy truly is. It's not what we leave behind at the end, but what we build each day. Our words and actions have the power to inspire or to wound, to lift or to break. This isn't just something I've read, it's something I've learned through experience. So I ask you again, what kind of seeds are you planting? What kind of legacy are you cultivating? You may not always see the effects of your words and actions, but rest assured, they take root, and when tended with care, they grow into something beautiful. Tonight, as you reflect on your day, remember that the thoughts you nurture shape not only your world, but also the world of those around you. Each kind thought, each compassionate act, is a seed that can bloom far beyond your lifetime. The legacy of the mind is the greatest legacy of all, because when you choose to plant love, purpose, and faith, the fruits of that choice will nourish countless souls, generation after generation.